To say hello. I'm Amy Alznauer, and this is, okay, first, before I do anything else, this is my puppy. He turned one month ago, and his name is Dune, and he's being very, very cooperative right now because my daughter is shaking a toy for him to look at. All right, so this is a very exciting day for me because it is the birthday of Flannery O'Connor, and I wrote a book about Flannery O'Connor's life. So I'm going to be telling you all about that book, all about Flannery O'Connor, but it is also a really special day for me because it is my mother's birthday as well. So I wanted to show you a picture of my mother when she was 19 years old. So exactly 60 years ago. And this is I love old passports. I don't know, I think the image is reversed for you, but you can see there's certain countries she's not allowed to travel to. And it says, this passport is not valid for travel to or in communist-controlled portions of China, Korea, Vietnam, or to or in areas of Albania and Hungary. So I just love looking at those historic records of where our world was at. So I want to start actually with something that isn't my book. It's another book because I think it sets the mood perfectly for our time, and that is this book by Remy Charlap. Now, I'm not going to read the whole book, but I just want to show you a little bit of it. So you have this very happy picture on the outside, and suddenly there are dark clouds, and then on the very next page you see sun. Okay, and the whole book is about fortunately, unfortunately. So I'm just going to read you a tiny bit of it, but I think it's particularly appropriate not only for our time, but for Flannery O'Connor, because if there were ever a writer who could stare the darkness down and yet still find light, find redemption, find something hopeful in the darkness, it was Flannery O'Connor. So I'm just going to read you my favorite part of this book. So the premise is there's a little boy who receives an invitation to a party. And the party, he lives in New York City. New York's on my mind a lot these days. But the party, unfortunately, is all the way down in Florida. But fortunately, his friend lends him an airplane. But unfortunately, the motor explodes. I love how drastic that is. But fortunately, and here's the cover image, he has a parachute. But unfortunately, the parachute has a hole. Fortunately, there is a haystack down beneath him. Unfortunately, there's a pitchfork in the haystack. Fortunately, he misses the pitchfork. Unfortunately, he misses the haystack. So I'm going to stop with that. But I think we are in very much of a fortunately, unfortunately time. So I want to tell you my fortunately, unfortunately story. So, fortunately, I wrote a book and found an amazing publisher, Enchanted Lion Books, to publish it, and they found an amazing illustrator, Ping Zhu. But unfortunately, right before our book tour was supposed to begin, and right before Flannery O'Connor's birthday, our book tour was surrounding that, the coronavirus came along and we had to cancel everything. But fortunately, I can still speak to you this way. So I am really thrilled to have this chance to speak to you about the book. And I want to give you a little bit of the backstory first. So here is a big stack of books by Flannery O'Connor. And many, many, many years ago, over a decade ago, actually probably more like 2 decades ago, I read every single word Flannery O'Connor had ever written. And there is in particular an essay in this book called King of the Birds that tells a story about Flannery O'Connor as a little girl. And it tells about her passionate quest to find the most beautiful, strangest bird she could ever find. And from that moment of reading that book, I thought, what a beautiful way to tell people about Flannery O'Connor as a writer, because she had a parallel quest, and that was to write the strangest, most beautiful story she could ever write. So I wanted to know more about her childhood, not just what she told me in that essay, but I wanted to have more of a visceral connection to who she was as a little girl. So I went into the library archives that are held both at Emory University and at Georgia College, and I'm going to try to show you some images that I found there. I was just delighted because not only are there tons of photographs of her as a little girl, but there's the actual work that she did as a girl. And I discovered that she was already a passionate writer and illustrator when she was a little girl. So let me bring up this feed. And here's the first one I want to show you. That is Flannery O'Connor at 5 years old. And I picked photographs that kind of show her personality. So here she is. I love this, probably about the same age. Notice the bow in her hair, and I think she's either trying to blow a bubble or she is sticking her tongue out. Here's another one. I love this one. Her mother was always trying to make her into a proper Southern lady, and there you see her with her little parasol. But in the very next shot, the parasol has fallen to the ground, and then a duck waddles by. And if I had one more to show you, there is one more, but it's really blurry. She's down in the dirt with the duck, which shows her personality perfectly. And here she is at 10 years old, looking even more serious. And I'm trying to find the next one. Here we go. Here she is, and right at the bottom of the screen there, you should be able to make out some little duck heads. She's sitting amidst this huge flock of ducks. So you're starting to see this theme coming forward with her birds. Now this is when she's 14. I love this photograph. To me, it looks like her hair is on fire, and she looks like the very intense little person that she was. And here finally, she is maybe in her late teens, early 20s, and I'm worried that you're not seeing the head of that rooster, which will actually have significance when I get into the story, a rooster with its head cut off. But she is sitting on the porch looking out at the shining world. I just love that image. So now let's get into her art a little bit. This is one of the very earliest images she drew, and I love to imagine that as a self-portrait of her as a little girl imagining herself flying above the world. And actually a lot of her early images in the archives are images of flight. So you see various animals, you see various children or birds flying above the world. Here is another one that I love. I don't think you can see it. The farmer's saying ha ha, but the sun is also saying ha ha. And I love how this gets across Flannery O'Connor's soul, her state, her orientation to the world. She found the world deeply amusing. And all of her writing throughout her life shows this sense of hilarity, the sense of humor that she found in everything. So again, I imagine this as somewhat of a self-portrait, her standing alone in a field like that farmer saying ha ha. Here's another one that is priceless. She drew this when she was 9, and it is a conversation between her and her parents as they're walking to school, walking somewhere. I won't tell you the conversation right now because it appears in my book, and I'll mention it when we get there. But notice the bow on top of her head. That's how she thought of herself as a little girl. So now I want to get into some of the little books. But first, I'm not sure how much you can see this, but it says do not touch, T-U-C-H. This was just on the back of a letter, and it just shows the speller and the sense of humor again. Flannery O'Connor was not a good speller, and I love to see that in a writer. I was a terrible speller when I was a little girl, and I'm only average now, and yet I am a writer. And Flannery O'Connor became an incredibly celebrated writer. So spelling and writing have very little to do with each other. Okay, so here's one of her books, How to Live to be 80 and Still Get to Heaven. You can't see the way she put this together, but it's in pink construction paper. It's bound mostly with tape. Here's another one, The Priceless Works of M.F. O'Connor, Mary Flannery O'Connor. And at the bottom there, you can see just the top of the bow. She held a lot of her work together with ribbon. Here's another drawing book that she held together with ribbon at the top. Here's another really funny one, How to Destroy Kittens. And that one, I don't think you can see the edge of it, but there's a red construction paper edge. And this is probably the one that she felt was her major work as a child. It's called Mistaken Identity. And unfortunately, I think it's getting cut off, but right along the side, she actually hand punched the holes for this. And she not only hand punched the holes, but she wound copper wire to create the binding. Okay, so let me go back to me now. All right, there we go. So after I went through these archives and came up with a story, I think maybe 4 years ago, I had a final draft. I sent it out to publishers I'm wondering if you're still seeing that little image there. I'm not sure how to get rid of that. So I sent it out to publishers, and finally Enchanted Lion was really interested in publishing this book, and I was thrilled. But then as a writer, you go into this long waiting period. So all of the art has to be made, the edits have to be done, and the book remains just an idea in your head, not a real thing. But then one day, a big box arrives in the mail. This is the box that I got. And you open it up and you pull out the actual book. And even though I knew exactly what was coming, I didn't realize what it was going to really look like. So first of all, I was shocked at how big it is. And the other thing about it, and I really don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but the colors are just incredible. It really feels like you're holding original paintings. So the other reason why I brought up Remy Charlap is because he has this beautiful idea of what a picture book is. He says picture books show us what books really are. So he said a page is like a door. A door is something that invites us to open it. And a page has that physical quality of wanting to be open. So one of the things my daughter always does when she gets a book is she opens the door this way to see the entire spread from the front to the back. And you see some books have a different back cover, but this one has a beautiful, almost mural-like quality, a peacock parade. Perfect for Flannery O'Connor's birthday. All right, so we open the book, and what we find inside, the very first page, is this mysterious blue. Flannery O'Connor was all about mystery. And then on the title page, and I think this is reversed for you, so you probably can't read it, but there's this wonderful inscription, I'll just show you the chicken, that says, especially prepared for highly intelligent adults and precocious children. So that was actually an inscription on Flannery O'Connor's book, Mistaken Identity. And again, I don't know if you're still seeing that little mistaken identity up there. I'm not sure how to get rid of that. Okay, so let me start the story for you. Right from the start, little Flannery took a shine to chickens. As soon as she could hold a crayon, her floor was littered with sketch after sketch of roosters and hens. Your room, young lady, is a mess, said her mother. Humph, said Flannery, her blue eyes flashing. I like it that way. She especially liked the one she'd made of a fat turkey squatting on the ground and a stick-figure child sailing overhead. Her father carried it everywhere in his wallet. And here you see that family parade with Flannery O'Connor leading, her father in the middle, and there is her mother. But it wasn't until Flannery was 5 years old that her passion for chickens really took off. She spent hours playing with her backyard birds. Once she even trained a bantam by glaring at it so long it backed away. A nosy neighbor alerted the press, and a New York cameraman came all the way to Savannah, Georgia, to get it on film. In that brief moment of fame, Flannery had a revelation. People didn't want to see any old chicken. They wanted a weird one. There was something about strangeness that made people sit up and look. And I want you to notice that these birds right here are looking at something. See that one looking up? So we have to open the door, turn the page to find out what. After all, she felt like kind of an odd bird herself, with her pigeon toes. At night, she had to do toe exercises to improve her posture, and during the day, she had to wear corrective shoes, tarso supernator, proper-built shoes, she called them. "Hold up your head, young lady," her mother told her on the way to St. Vincent's Grammar School for girls. Humph, thought Flannery. I heard someone once died of holding up her head. She imagined rocketing off the ground in her tarso supernators, sailing above the world. Now I'm going to hold the book open and read for this part. Soon she started collecting strange ducks and chickens, birds with one green eye and one orange, or with long spindly necks. Dadgum, she thought, if only I could find one with 3 legs or 3 wings. She even sewed her birds little white piqué coats and lace collars. Best of all was a picture she found of a rooster that lived for a whole month without a head. Sometimes, seated on her back steps, she wondered if she could do it. Seize one by the neck and hack off its head. But instead, she began to write stories, because in stories you can make things strange as you like. You can make people fly and headless chickens live. She wrote story after story and bound them into little books with pink or blue cardboard covers. Her father thought he might find a way to get them published. But by 5th grade, Sister Consolata had had enough of all those stories. I don't ever want to hear about another duck or chicken, she said. Humph, thought Flannery, and pulled back one of the rubber bands on her braces until it went zinging across the room. And again, I'm going to read this part. Since no one appreciated her stories at school, 10-year-old Flannery started a club. The Merriweather girls met in the shed behind her house, chickens perched all about. From an old porcelain bathtub, Lord Flannery, as she liked to be called, read her stories aloud. But when Lord Flannery was 13 years old, her family moved to Milledgeville, and the club was disbanded. And I'm going to stop there, but I want to show you that when we open this door, turn this page, we are in an entirely new world with light and dark. The girl is a bit older now, and the world has changed. So this is one of the main turning points in the book. But I want to show you one last little sequence that is very appropriate for a peacock party on Flannery O'Connor's birthday. So as I told you in the beginning, Flannery had this quest to find the most beautiful, perfect bird she could find. And eventually she found peacocks. She ordered one in the mail. A few weeks later, the railway express came chugging into the station, a shining blue head poking up through the crate like a trapped king. And I'm having a hard... Oh, there we go. Poking up through the crate like a trapped king. And then eventually she sees this. It's like 1,000 haloed suns were shining down at her. Okay, so I am now going to take you over to see my daughter. So if you're here to hear a book talk, the main part where I'm talking about the book is over. We're going to do some crafts for Flannery O'Connor's birthday. I think even adult might like these crafts, but I just wanted to warn you that we're switching things a little bit. So I'm going to change the camera angle here so it's looking out. Okay, you can see my daughter's little dormer window there. We're in her bedroom. One of the things I love about this room is that you can actually see out this little window at the neighborhoods of Chicago. All right, so let me bring it over here. Here is my daughter.
Hi, I'm Margaret, and inspired by the peacocks that my mom showed you in this book, I'm going to be showing you how to make a peacock feather out of origami. So you can use any square piece of paper. You can also make your own design or something like that. I'm using this one today. But you're going to flip it over into the side you don't want your peacock feather to be colored as. And then flip it so the corners match up. And you're going to crease that. And then we're going to open this back up and fold these into the center line, just like that. And on the other side too. So now it kind of looks like a kite. And we're going to make it a slimmer kite by folding these in one more time. Now we have that slim kite. We are going to fold it out so that we have a little triangle of the color that we don't want still there. Then we're going to take this little corner over here and we're going to fold that up to the edge. We're going to do the same thing on this side. Fold that up to the edge. So now it kind of looks like that. Again, we're going to fold down that center line over here, except we're going to flip it. It might be a little bit difficult to get these little flaps inside at the tip. Okay, so now we have something that looks like that, and I don't know if you can see that clearly, but there's kind of an angle, a slight corner right there. And you're going to fold to the corner that you've made. It might be nearer or farther than mine from the tip. Like that. So you kind of have a misshapen L. And then you're going to fold this down so it kind of matches up with that line. And then keeps making little triangles. But you're going to leave a little bit for the stem, if you will, of the feather. And we're going to do this on the other side, but since feathers don't usually have two stems, we're just going to go right to the tip. Then you see on one side, you can pull it open and look at it this way. But the angles are kind of messed up and it doesn't look perfectly folded like that. So we're going to have to pop the first folds out, and then the second folds go in, and then the third fold out, and you just keep doing that. Gonna get that one quite folded. There we go. And there we have our feather.
And there's a whole bunch of different ones. You can see on one of them, she actually designed her own paper. So any square paper works. Okay, I wanted to show you a couple other things on this desk. Here my daughter and I have been making Ping Zhu inspired chicks. So if you look in the book, you'll see a chick that looks exactly like that. So we're just copying her chicks. And the way she did little plants, little flowers, that's so magical. And there's the Enchanted Lion logo, or at least one of them. So I am going to give the camera here, the phone, to my daughter, and she's going to film. So you want to get a good shot of my hands there. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to make one of these little books. So again, my daughter and I have been inspired by those little chicks that Ping made, and so we are making these little books that have chicks on the front. But we're also doing it because Flannery O'Connor loved to make little books. When she was 14, she said that she wanted to bring literature into being, and for her that was actually partly the physical process of creating a book. So this is a great craft because you can do it without any scissors. All you have to do is fold. So I'm going to show you the idea, but then I have some of the stuff pre-made. So the idea is you want to fold your paper, and my daughter told me this is called folding it hot dog style or taco style, not hamburger style. Okay, make sure, are you getting a good shot of that,
yes,
sweetie? Okay. And now you want to do the same fold again, but you want to make this into 4 equal sections. So you're going to do that again. And if you don't want to use scissors, what you want to do is create super strong creases. So I'm just using a straight edge. You can use your nail or whatever you want, but you want to just do it on both sides. So you're practically tearing that paper as you fold. All right. And then you would do one more of these just to create that 4th section. And the nice thing about that is you've actually created 4 potential little books by creating these 4 sections. All right, so then after you've done all of that folding, you want to carefully hold your hands, hold one side and tear against it. Okay, excuse my chipping blue nail polish there. It was supposed to be blue for Flannery O'Connor's party, but you know, it's one of those speed dried ones, so it's chipping off already. Okay, so we create basically the template for the pages of the book. All right, so now let's create the pages, and this is really easy. You just fold it in half. You can just finger press it this time. Fold it in half again, finger press, and fold it in half one more time. None of this needs to be folded particularly perfectly because the goal is to create an accordion. So what you have right now is not quite an accordion. Accordion is going to alternate. So you go back, forward, and you just alternate back, forward, back, okay? And you end up creating a perfect little accordion book, all right? And what you want to make sure of is that your end pages are both pointing the same direction. So I have 2 of them right here, and one of them is fine for making your book. You can stop with just 1, or you can take 2 and you can put glue. So I am using a little bit of glue for this. You don't need any glue if you're just going to stick with that one book. And you're going to put these together. Okay. Again, I didn't double check in front of you here, but you want to make sure that these 2 ends are pointing the same direction. All right, so we're just going to let that glue for a minute while we make the cover. So you're going to start with a piece of paper, and I've already actually begun tearing this, but you'll start with a piece of construction paper, any contrasting color, and you want to fold it into 4 pieces. So I folded it in half that way, and then again in half this way. All right, so that's easy enough to do. You create these 4 equal rectangles, and then again make really, really super strong creases with your straight edge or with your nail, and then you carefully tear out. So for example, I would tear this along this line. Oh, see, now that one didn't tear very well, and that's probably because I didn't, yes, I can tell I did not crease this very well. So your tears are going to work out beautifully if you have worked with your straight edge to make those really strong. So you would want to work again to get a better cover than that one. But I have one here, and I want to show you how to fold this into the cover of the book. So if you have ever covered a school book with a paper bag, it's exactly the same method, right? So you fold it in half just to give yourself a center line, okay? And then you fold each of these into that center line, but leave like a little millimeter of distance before that center line, because your book cover has to go around your book, so it has to be slightly bigger than the pages of the book. Okay, and again, all the way almost up to that center line, leaving just a millimeter there. And then we can, all right, so now the book is going to go like this, but again we need a center line so we can create the folds that are going to go on the book pages themselves. This time leave maybe a tad more than a millimeter. And again, you're going to fold to that center line almost, leaving a little space there. And once you've done that, you have your cover. This is the cover of your book, okay? I have another one right here. So I love making them in different colors. So now we take our book, and what you want to do with this book is put it inside of here so that these pages, these end pages, are facing forward. And then you can easily slide them into that little cover here and here. Okay. And you have your little book. We've been decorating them, as you can see, like this, as little chicks. We also made one that is just some beautiful paper. I think it was some old wallpaper scraps that we used. And here we wrote, bringing us back to the Remy Charlotte idea, a page is a door. So now the question is, what do you put in this little book? You can write your own little book. It's perfect for poems. It's perfect for very short stories. So let me bring my camera back over here one more time. Oops, sorry about that. We're making a little change here. All right, so thank you so much for being with us for this Flannery O'Connor birthday party. I'm just thrilled to be talking about this book, as I said, and let me show you the cover one last time. And if you follow Enchanted Lion's Instagram feed, there's definitely going to be a lot